नमस्कार, मैं हूं सत्येंद्र रंजन। जनचौक डायलॉग में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम एक बहुत ही खास मेहमान के साथ आपके पास आए हैं। हम लोग सभी जानते हैं कि फ़िलिस्तीन में और ख़ासकर जो उनका गजा में पिछले 1.5 महीनों से वहाँ पर इजराइल की तरफ से हमले किए जा रहे हैं। बल्कि ये तो खुद यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने कहा है कि वहाँ पर युद्ध अपराध किए जा रहे हैं। और ये जो पूरा जो संकट है, ये संकट एक रीजनल वॉर का सिचुएशन लेता जा रहा है। तो इन सब में वहाँ क्या हालात हैं और जो वहाँ के संघर्ष से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं क्या महसूस करते हैं, यह जानने के लिए आज हमने इनवाइट किया है जना नखाल। ये कम्युनिस्ट लीडर हैं, नेपाल की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी की सेंट्रल कमेटी की मेंबर भी रही हैं और फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट में इनका खास योगदान रहा है। वैसे ये अर्बन प्लानर हैं और एक जाना माना नाम है लेबनान की राजनीति में, और खासकर उसका जो लेफ्ट मूवमेंट है उसके साथ इनका जुड़ाव रहा है। जना, मोस्ट वेलकम टू यू at here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I was just introducing you in Hindi, and now we will start our conversation. So, my first question to you would be, as we are seeing, it's exactly 44 days has passed when first Hamas launched an audacious attack, and after that Israel has been committing, as even United Nations agencies have said, that their action come under the definition of war crime, and we may even call it a crime against humanity also. But how you assess the current situation in Palestine and beyond, in neighborhood of Gaza and West Bank and whole of Palestine? How you assess?
So basically, I'm an outsider. I'm not Palestinian, but seeing what's happening and hearing from inside Palestine, both in Gaza and the occupied territories, as well as the West Bank, this is basically one of the biggest wars that has hit the region. Palestinians are also comparing it to the 1948 Nakba, which is the moment at which Palestine was practically occupied. So whether you're talking about Gaza, where a continuous genocide is taking place, or you're talking about the occupied territories, where Israelis are harassing and imprisoning Palestinians who even like a post or post anything about Palestine, and whether you're talking also about the West Bank, where attacks, continuous daily attacks on Palestinians, on their homes, as well as the killing of Palestinians is ongoing. Basically, yes, in all of the Palestinian territory, this is an actual war. When you talk also about the expanse of this war, you have the Golan Heights, which are experiencing continuous skirmishes, and the Lebanese south, which is still under the situation is called war, even if the rest of Lebanon is not being bombarded. The south of Lebanon is being bombarded on a daily basis. Civilians are getting killed. Forests and olive orchards and trees are being burnt. And the whole of the south is being closed off to foreigners by the Lebanese army because of the situation. Meanwhile, the Israeli warplanes and missiles are killing everything and everyone from civilians up until ambulance cars.
तो मैंने जना से ये पूछा कि अभी जो वहाँ हालात हैं उसका वो असेसमेंट कैसे करती हैं, उसका जायजा कैसे लेती हैं। तो उन्होंने ये बताया कि रेगुलर बेसिस पर गजा में जेनोसाइड यानी नरसंहार हो रहा है, वेस्ट बैंक में लोगों को गिरफ्तार किया जा रहा है, गोलान हाइट्स जो कि सीरिया का क्षेत्र रहा है, वहाँ पर इजरायली एक्शंस लगातार लिए जा रहे हैं। साउथ लेबनान का जो सदर्न हिस्सा है, वहाँ पर गोलाबारी चल रही है। तो ये सारा सिचुएशन जो वहाँ का है, जो हम लोग रोज न्यूज पेपर्स में और सोशल मीडिया पर भी हम लोग देख रहे हैं, इसका उन्होंने एक ब्यौरा, एक विवरण यहाँ पर रखा। Jana, as you said that war has already spread beyond Gaza and even beyond the boundaries of Palestine. Lebanon, as you told, southern Lebanon is already being attacked. And I was listening a speech of Hezbollah Secretary General Sayyid Nasrullah, and he said in his first speech that Hezbollah is already in war. It has already entered in a war. Only yesterday we got the news that Yemen, the Yemen government, whom West call Houthi groups, but it already captured large part of Yemen. So they seized an Israeli ship that was coming to India. India about Israeli ship. They have now seized it, and many people have called it biggest event after the 7th of October. And there are always verbal attack is going between Iran and Israel. Syria has been already come under this bombardment or rocket attacks. So, do you see that this situation is turning into an regional war? A regional war, it will shape into a regional war in which many neighboring countries will get involved.
I mean, we definitely hope it doesn't turn into a regional war, but we also hope that the war on Gaza specifically stops. You have also missed the fact that the US has been sending tons of arms, as well as much as I remember, I'm not an arms specialist, but as much as I remember, it's something like the biggest military ship that the US has been sent to the region. So basically, it's about defending its minion in the region, right? It's about defending Israel in the region. So I think this is the main aim, whether for them, for the US, they don't care about it becoming regional or not. What they care about is defending Israel. Meanwhile, people in this region do not want a regional war, but at the same time, it's not fair that people keeps getting killed and nobody else talks about it.
तो मैंने ये सभा से पूछा कि क्या मैंने ये जना से पूछा कि क्या ये एक रीजनल वॉर में बदलता हुआ वो चीज़ों को देख रही हैं। तो मैंने उसमें जो घटनाओं का जिक्र किया उसके साथ उन्होंने जोड़ा कि वहाँ यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ने अपना जो सबसे बड़ा जो उनका एक बेड़ा है वो भेजा हुआ है और लगातार वो हथियार भेज रहे हैं वहाँ पर। जाना का ये कहना है कि वो ये उम्मीद करती हैं कि ये रीजनल वॉर ना हो, लेकिन ऐसा सिचुएशन बनता हुआ दिख रहा है। मैं एक चीज़ आप लोगों को बताना ये भूल गया कि इस समय मैं जब जना से बात कर रहा हूँ तो ये अंकारा में है, ये तुर्की की जो राजधानी है ये अंकारा से हमारे साथ बात कर रही हैं। और इन्होंने शुरू में ही ये डिस्क्लेमर दिया कि ये पैलेस्टीनियन नहीं है, लेकिन ये आउटसाइड से जो चीज़ों को देख पा रही हैं वो बात ये हम लोगों के साथ कर रही हैं। So I just had forgot to mention our viewers that you are talking from Ankara. Just I told them that you are, and I also translated to them your disclaimer that you are not a Palestinian, but whatever you are seeing from outside, that you are telling us. So last week only, there was a meeting in Saudi Arabia in which OIC, Islamic Cooperation Organization members took part, and Arab League countries also participated in that meeting. And after that, today it's only uh, a delegation of both organization has landed in Beijing, in China. Uh, there are officials from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, and most important of Palestinian Authority, and they have gone to Beijing, and talks have already begun. Uh, Chinese uh, Foreign Minister Wang Yi welcomed them, and he is participating in those talks. So this effort, such kind of diplomatic efforts are also being, being organized to have a ceasefire there. Do you see any way of hope in these efforts?
Let me start by saying that in our region, as much as in other regions of the world, the governments are not representatives of peoples. So whenever we talk about, Saudi Arabia government, not government actually, even king and other, countries, these are businessmen, huge millionaires who always work for their own very limited interests. So in no sense would I see a king, a couple of kings actually, from Saudi to Jordan, in addition to a dictator from Egypt, sitting together and working for the rights and interests of any peoples, starting with their own, right? When they don't even care about their own people's rights, how would I believe that they would care about Palestinians' rights or other people's rights? So I think some kind of a business deal is coming out of it, and they're going to try to. I mean, since the beginning of it, there was a lot of discussions about what they call transfer. A lot of the Arab countries around the world, around the region, were being pressured to take Palestinians, as if Palestinians don't have a land. So, this is the way, this is the level at which these heads of countries deal and discuss deal with the Palestinian cause. So we don't think that, we don't have any hope. We don't care about what they're going to be talking about. What we care about is resistance on the ground that's fighting for the liberation of the people, whether in Lebanon or in Palestine.
मैंने जना से ये पूछा कि जो अभी इस्लामिक सहयोग संगठन की और अरब लीग की एक मीटिंग सऊदी अरब में हुई थी, और उसके बाद उनका एक डेलीगेशन बीजिंग गया है, चीन गया है। बताया यह गया है कि वो डेलीगेशन वहाँ पे बात करेगा सीज फायर के लिए और ह्यूमैनिटेरियन एड, जिसको कि यानी मानवीय सहायता को गजा पहुँचाया जाए, उसको कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज किया जाए, उसके ऊपर वो बात करेगा। तो मैंने ये पूछा कि क्या आपको इसमें वे ऑफ होप, कोई उम्मीद की किरण नज़र आती है? तो जना का कहना है कि जो सरकारें हैं, जिन देशों का हमने नाम लिया, वो जो गवर्नमेंट्स हैं वो पीपल्स की रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं हैं। कुछ राजा महाराजा हैं, किंग हैं, और नॉन रिप्रेजेंटेटिव गवर्नमेंट्स हैं जो बिलियनियर्स हैं और उनके अलग इंटरेस्ट हैं। उन्होंने कभी फिलिस्तीनियन जो पैलेस्टीनियन लोग हैं उनकी परवाह नहीं की है, और अभी भी वो जो गए हैं वो कुछ बिजनेस डील और इस तरह की बातें हो सकती हैं, लेकिन फिलिस्तीन के लोगों को उससे कोई उम्मीद नहीं है। Jenna, you had suggested me to.
Can I add something before?
Yeah, definitely.
I think in comparison to a meeting taking place in Beijing and discussing their own interests, what is really working and what is really affecting not only the politics in Palestine, but also the politics of all the world, are the beautiful and amazing and radical movements that are taking place around the world, from Europe to the US specifically. Not because the Europe and the US are important or different, but because they have been able to pressure their own governments and to show a real change in the internal and external policies of these Western states. Again, we can see that in many of those states, the governments are not representatives of their people. The beautiful and amazing hundreds of thousands of people around the US that have been moving, that have been stopping the businesses, that have been creating awareness around what's going on, not only in Palestine, but all around the world, concerning the US external policy, foreign policy, is very, very important and much more efficient than any kind of meetings between dictators and businessmen and kings around the world. Thank you.
I was just coming to you on this protest are taking place all over the world. But let me first say what you have said it in Hindi. जना ने उसमें ये जोड़ना ये चाहा कि जो दुनिया भर में जो लैक्स ऑफ पीपल, लाखों लोग सड़कों पर आकर जो डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन कर रहे हैं, जिसको कि उन्होंने ब्यूटीफुल एंड अमेजिंग यानी खूबसूरत और एक आश्चर्यजनक घटना के रूप में रखा, वो जो घटना है वो वहाँ के जो रूलर्स हैं उनको मजबूर कर रही ये जो लोग हैं वो मजबूर कर रहे हैं कि वो फिलिस्तीनियों के पक्ष में कुछ करें, उनके पक्ष में स्टैंड लें। तो इनका ये कहना है कि बीजिंग में जो बैठक हो रही है उसके बजाय जो सड़कों पर हो रहा है उसको वो अहमियत देती हैं, और वही जो घटनाएं हैं उसकी वजह से जो डिक्टेटर्स भी हैं वो कुछ करने के लिए उनकी मजबूरी बन रही है। Jenna, you had suggested me to have a chat with Sara Barame, and I had that chat 3 weeks earlier. And when I had put same question to her, ki how she visualize things evolving, and does she have any hope now as incidents are unfolding? She said that as a Palestinian, if one see through the eyes of Palestinian, they have no hope from Arab League or Islamic organization. They just whatever they hope on the basis of their struggle. Same thing you have said, that only thing they can trust is their struggle and struggle of Lebanese people. But do you think that only without getting much support from neighborhood and world over, Palestinian and Lebanese people's struggle is capable of defeating Israel?
I mean, I completely agree with Sarah, and I build on it to say that whether we're talking about regional structures such as the Arab League or international ones, based on our experience, not only in our region, but I think all of the global South have been experiencing this with the regional and the international structures, because these are structures that have been created in a way to keep the status quo, to keep the ones who are in power, and to keep the peoples oppressed. So there's no way that these structures would go out of their designed route. This is one. Two, when we talk about our hope in the people of Palestine and Lebanon, we also are definitely talking about our hope in the peoples of all the world. And as I was talking about all these movements, it's the people who are building this. It's the people who are showcasing their solidarity, who are showcasing a change of policy, of direction, a change of conception of worldviews. But also these are people that are pressuring their governments. I mean, as much as I know, this is the first time for a long time that employees in the US government have actually signed a petition speaking out against this. So this is meaningful. I think that the pressure is meaningful.
तो मैंने पूछा जना से कि क्या आपको ये लगता है कि लेबनान और फ़िलिस्तीन के जो लोग हैं सिर्फ उनका संघर्ष इजराइल को हरा देने में काफ़ी है? तो जना का ये कहना है कि उनका अपने संघर्ष पर तो भरोसा है ही, लेकिन दुनिया भर में जो हो रहा है, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स से लेकर अलग अलग देशों में जो लोग सड़कों पे आ रहे हैं और वहाँ पर जो वर्कर्स हैं जो कि वहाँ पर इजराइल को भेजी जाने वाली चीज़ों में सहयोग करने से इनकार कर रहे हैं, उनका जो दबाव बन रहा है वो उम्मीद जगाता है. Then, Jana, I would ask, I will go into more depth in these protest movements. You, you have to correct this your phone direction. No, yeah, good, fine, now fine. So I would like to go more into the depth of these protest movements. Do you see that is there any difference now uh, in comparison to earlier protests in earlier uh, occasions like 2008 and whenever Israel attacked Gaza or laid a siege there? All those times there were people who came on streets and they raised voice in support of uh, Palestinian people. But is there any difference uh, from from earlier times and in after October 7 events? Could you listen my question?
Sorry, I was disconnected. Could you repeat it again? I'm so sorry.
Okay. No issue. I just repeat. I am asking that this Israel-led first siege at Gaza, as I remember, in 2008. If I am wrong, you may correct me. And after 2008, every 2 or 3 years, there has been a crisis. Israel has been attacking people there, and they say that they are attacking Hamas. But in those attacks, many civilians, children, and women and elderly people have been either killed or they have been injured or many houses have been destroyed. So these incidents have been going on with some interval, 1 year or 2 year interval. First thing, and even within Israel, they have been evicting Palestinian people and illegal settlements. They have been building. They are creating there. In all those times, many people have come on streets and they expressed their support for Palestinian people or as they say, two-state solution. So, do you see any difference between those protests, earlier protests and protests those are taking now in Western capitals or other parts of the world?
Definitely. So I just checked because I'm bad in history. It was 2006 when Israel has started the blockade on Gaza. But
Okay,
yeah, very
sorry,
close.
sorry.
No, very close. So definitely, this is one of the beautiful things that are taking place right now, which is a huge change in the discourse. Previously, the discourse would first of all equate what's happening. Hamas is doing something, is the Israeli army is doing something, they are equal. And now they're saying, no, you're talking about one of the most well-armed, well-funded, well-trained armies in the world in comparison to a small resistance movement which doesn't, Palestinians don't have an army. So this is the people that doesn't have an army. And then so no, you can't compare them. You can't say they are equal. And then when you talk about the rights of Palestinians versus the rights of Israelis all over historic Palestine, when we talk about Palestine in our region, we talk about historic Palestine, so including the occupied territories, which are generally called Israel. So in all of these lands, Palestinians have no rights. This is practically by law. This is not me speaking. This is international law speaking. This is apartheid. This is an apartheid regime where a person can or cannot have rights because of their religion, where a person can or cannot pass through a road because of their religion, where a person can or cannot collect rainwater. 2 days ago, the Israeli authorities have published, I don't know if it's a new law or something, but they said the Palestinians don't even have right to collect rainwater because rainwater belongs to Israel. So all of this, when you live under such a form of a state, such a form of a governance, this is called apartheid. And for a long time, this has only been called like that by a very few number of people. Right now, in all of these movements, this also has been called upon. Israel has been called apartheid. Also, there's a huge and beautiful discussion around anti-Semitism, and that it is not possible, it is not okay, it is not logical to call anyone who criticizes or anti-Zionism to be equal to anti-Semitism. This is not the same. So the discussions and the discourse is becoming more and more radicalized. People are talking about white supremacy. People are talking about settler colonial state instead of talking about skirmishes between two equal groups. So definitely, this is a huge change for us, and this is a huge, I think, this is a huge step towards understanding the Israeli state, to understanding that this is not an Arab-Israeli conflict. This is a white settler colonial occupation of a land that has a people and which have been kicked out of their lands for a long period of time.
तो हमने जाना से पूछा कि जो ये उन्होंने मुझे करेक्ट किया, मैंने 2008 कह दिया था, लेकिन उन्होंने मुझे करेक्ट किया कि जो पहला घेरा इजराइल ने डाला था वो 2006 में डाला था, 2006 में डाला था। तो 2006 के बाद से बार-बार वहाँ पर घेरे डाले गए और वहाँ पर ये लड़ाइयाँ होती रही हैं, इजराइल की तरफ से हमले होते रहे हैं। उन मौक़ों पर भी कई देशों में प्रोटेस्ट मूवमेंट होता था। हमने उनसे पूछा कि क्या वो तब के प्रोटेस्ट और अभी जो प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है उसमें कोई फ़र्क उनको महसूस होता है? तो उन्होंने कहा बहुत फ़र्क है। पहले जो था वो बहुत कम लोग थे, ज़्यादातर लोग ये ऐसा समझते थे कि ये 2 देशों की सेना में युद्ध हो रहा है, लेकिन अब लोग देख रहे हैं कि फ़िलिस्तीनियंस के पास अपनी आर्मी नहीं है, जबकि इजरायली आर्मी उन पर अटैक कर रही है। इजराइल ने एक अपार्थाइड स्टेट वहाँ बना रखा है, एक धर्म आधारित भेदभाव का देश बना रखा है, जिसमें कि फ़िलिस्तीनी कुछ रास्तों से नहीं जा सकते, वो रेन वाटर तक वो नहीं ले सकते हैं, ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पर हैं। और ये बातें अब प्रोटेस्ट मूवमेंट में जहाँ हो रहा है वहाँ बात हो रही है। लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि इजराइल एक अपार्थाइड स्टेट है। तो पहले जो एक समझ थी और अब जो समझ है उसमें बहुत अंतर आया है। So, Jenna, there is a difference among the people who are opposing Israel. मैं एक चीज़ और बता दूं, उन्होंने ये कहा कि एंटी सेमिटिज्म का जो एक हुआ था वो इस बार टूट गया है और लोग अब ये कह रहे हैं कि एंटी जायनिस्ट होना और यहूदियों के खिलाफ होना एक ही बात नहीं है। I had forgotten one of your point. Now I have told them. So I am now asking. I am extending this question only. As you told that the protesters world over are now more aware of real situation that is present there. But what it has been, it is achieving, because at least in Western world, European and government of United States are still solidly standing behind the Netanyahu government or Zionist project, whatever, however we see it. But definitely people have come on streets, discourse has changed. This bogey of anti-Semitism has been punctured. All your points are perfectly right. But do you think that this will help Palestinian cause?
Definitely. I think on the longer term, this will help at several levels. So first of all, the fact that people are aware of such a situation will help in pressuring for different policies.
वो ऐसा लगता है कि हमारा फिर से उनसे कांटेक्ट टूट गया है। तो वो मैंने अभी उनसे ये सवाल पूछा था कि क्या आपको ये लगता है you have got disconnected, Jenna.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, our internet is very bad. So I was, should I repeat?
You should repeat, yeah.
Okay, so basically at the first level, I think that this is going to help Palestine in the change of policies. The arms that have been sent, the taxes that have been sent, all of the arms and financial support that have been sent to Israel can be cancelled, hopefully, in the future. So this is at the level of policies. A second one, which is at the level of, direct elections. A lot of the people that have been reading now and understanding the situation in the West are currently saying that they will never vote for candidates who support Israel and or who support sending aid to the Israeli army. So this is a change in the political structure of the Western world, I think. So whenever we talk about this, I think this can be changed. When we talk about this, we can hopefully see this in the future. But at a shorter term, I think this is this has a huge effect on also Palestinians living in the US. On the understanding of why are these Palestinians here? What are they doing here? Why don't they go back to their countries? Hoping that a certain level of xenophobia would be changed, would decrease. So quickly, this is what I'm thinking about.
तो जेना का ये कहना है कि अभी जो कुछ वहाँ प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है उसका शॉर्टर टर्म में भी मतलब थोड़े समय में अल्पकाल में भी उसका लाभ होगा, लेकिन दीर्घकाल में लॉन्गर टर्म में उसका ये लाभ होगा कि वहाँ की जो नीतियां हैं वो बदलेंगी, क्योंकि लोगों में जब जागरूकता आएगी और उसका दबाव बनेगा तो उसमें जो वहाँ के शासक हैं उनके ऊपर भी उसका फर्क होगा. I have left 3 questions more, Jenna. We are taking a longer time because I am translating.
Yes.
So it takes longer time. I had promised you that I will complete. So now I would come to this narrative of terrorism. As Hamas launched the attack on October 7th, the first reaction came from Western capitals that it's a terrorist attack, and that narrative is continuing. On basis of this very logic that Israel has right to self-defense and it's fighting against a terrorist organization, they are opposing the demand of ceasefire. So how one should look into this narrative of terrorism? Is calling Hamas a terrorist organization is a right description?
So again, I go back to the conception of global south, where whatever country or region stands against the policies, the projects of the US, they're being called names. Was it Bush? Yes, Bush was calling us the axis of evil, and it's very easy to just throw around words and throw around labels. So terrorism, quote unquote, is one of the words, one of the, let's say, nomenclature, one of the expressions that the US has been using to simply demonize anyone against them. whether they are Islamists, whether they are, no matter what they are, if they stand against them, if they stand against their interests, they're called terrorists. So in this sense, because Hamas has been fighting, as I called them, the US minion in the region, they have been called terrorists. But if we look deeply at it, and if also going back to the idea of the 7th of October, this was never an action that has no connection with reality, which has no connection with what was going on since 1948, right? This is the reaction. And a resistance movement is a reaction. So Hamas or any other movement could not have existed if there was no occupation. The 7th of October would not have happened if Israel has not occupied Palestine in 1948, if Israel had not turned Gaza to the biggest open-air prison in the world. So we have to look to the actions and the same chronology of the way it was created. They were created. So occupation happened first, blockade happened first, killing Palestinians happened first, and following all of this, no people in the world would just stand up there and get killed. So based on this, Hamas for us in the region is not a terrorist organization. Based on this, 7th of October was a reaction to a long history of killing and of disenfranchisement and of expulsion of Palestinians from the lands.
तो मैंने ये पूछा जना से कि जो ये टेररिज्म की जो बात है, आतंकवाद की, कि क्या वो जो पश्चिमी देश अमेरिका और दूसरे जो यूरोपियन देश हैं, उन्होंने हमास को वो एक टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कहते हैं, और 7 अक्टूबर को 7 अक्टूबर को जो हुआ उसको उन्होंने एक टेररिस्ट एक्ट यानी आतंकवादी हमला कहा उन्होंने। तो इस बारे में इनका क्या कहना है? तो इन्होंने कहा कि अमेरिका या जो पश्चिम के देश हैं वो जो भी कोलोनाइजेशन के मूवमेंट से जुड़ा हुआ है, जो भी अपनी आज़ादी के लिए लड़ता है, उनको वो इसी तरह के नाम देते हैं। कभी उसको एक्सिस ऑफ एविल कहते हैं, बुराइयों का एक समूह कहते हैं, या उसको फिर आतंकवाद जैसे नाम देते हैं। लेकिन आखिर 7 अक्टूबर क्यों हुआ? इसलिए हुआ कि उसके पहले 1948 से 1948 से घटनाएं हो रही थी। पहले लोगों को वहाँ से इविक्ट किया गया, हटाया गया। पहले गजा को एक जेल के रूप में बदला गया। उसके जवाब में 7 अक्टूबर हुआ। तो उन्होंने कहा कि उनकी राय में वो एक रेसिस्टेंस मूवमेंट है, एक प्रतिरोध की घटना हुई, न कि वो आतंकवाद की घटना थी, ऐसा जना का मानना है। My next question, Jenna, is somewhat different. I was going through your profile on internet, and I came to know that you have been associated with left movement, with the Communist Party of Lebanon. So I assume that you believe in Marxist. You have a Marxist perspective. So how you assess the presence of Marxist forces in West Asia and around your around in what is called MENA, Middle East and North America? Do you see a substantial presence of left forces, left/Marxist forces there?
I mean, historically, this region was very rich in resistance and progressive and leftist movements. Whether we're talking about Tunis, you could see the 2011 movement in Tunis, or else in Egypt, and then passing through Palestine, and then Lebanon, of course, and Syria. But unfortunately, as much as the US wouldn't allow anyone to have a resistance movement around the world, specifically around this region, it was the movements were always attacked, whether by the US or whether about Islamists, by the Islamists, also supported by the US. And so, yeah, historically, the movement has been very active, very lively, very diverse. currently we're not in the best situation. Currently we're in a downward direction, unfortunately. Also because of what has happened, for instance, in Lebanon, what has happened through the lockdown and through the what we call economic meltdown. Lebanon is currently going through one of the three worst economic meltdowns that modern history have witnessed. So based on all of this, the left hasn't been very active, but it's still there.
तो चूंकि जना जो है वो कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी से जुड़ी हुई हैं, तो मैंने इनसे ये पूछा कि अभी जो मिडिल ईस्ट और नॉर्थ अमेरिका का जो इलाका है, जैसे पश्चिम एशिया और उत्तरी अफ्रीका का, वहाँ पर वो लेफ्ट मूवमेंट की हालत पर उनका क्या असेसमेंट है। तो उन्होंने कहा कि इसका एक बहुत ही रिच ट्रेडिशन रहा है, बहुत ही समृद्ध एक वहाँ पर परंपरा रही है इन आंदोलनों की, लेकिन आज के समय में ये बहुत अच्छी स्थिति में नहीं है, और उसकी वजह जो ये कोविड लॉकडाउन हुआ और जो इकोनॉमिक मेल्टडाउन यानी आर्थिक संकट जो वहाँ आया, उन सब वजहों का असर पड़ा है वहाँ पर, लेकिन इस समय वो बहुत अच्छी स्थिति में नहीं है। सो नाउ आई कम टू माई लास्ट क्वेश्चन. I am returning again to Palestinian question, but I am adding it to my question on left movement. I am asking for both. I mean, for the Palestinian resistance movement and for the potential left emergence of potential left in that area. Where do you think things going from here? For both separately, you can answer this question first for Palestinian cause, and second one for this left Marxist communist movement in context of that.
I mean, historically, we can never expect things, right? Things happen suddenly. Like in 2011, nobody was seeing a real movement growing around this region, and then it found itself. And then in Lebanon, we had the 2011 movement, 2014, 2015, 2016, I think, and then the 2019 one was the last one. So we are always full of hope. Nothing is showing on the ground. There's a huge depression because, as I told you, of the economic situation. Maybe, hopefully, something will come up soon. But yeah, currently nothing is showing.
And for Palestinian cause, do you how? I mean, as I asked you, where do you think going from this point?
I mean, I hope that this movement around the world would support the growth of a radicalized movement in this region. And I hope that the situation starting from Gaza up until the West Bank will change, and which can allow for the growth of a radical leftist movement. But yes, unless the current situation, the current military situation changes, we can't have this.
तो मैंने आखिरी सवाल के तौर पर इनसे पूछा कि जो अब से चीज़ें कहाँ जाती दिख रही हैं लेफ्ट मूवमेंट के लिए भी, और जो फ़िलिस्तीन का जो आज़ादी की लड़ाई है उसके लिए भी, दोनों में उनका ये कहना है कि चीज़ें संभावनाएं हैं, दोनों आगे बढ़ सकती हैं, क्योंकि हालात वैसे हैं जो उनको उस तरफ ले जा सकते हैं. So, Jenna, I am very thankful. Actually, our organization is very thankful. You spent time for us. I know you are very busy.
And thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we will. I will actually like to have one more talk with you exclusively on situation and emerging potentialities for left movement, Marxist movement exclusively, how Marxist forces can reorganize, and they present a vision to the masses, the vision that had one time, 100 years back, that has electrified the working masses of the world. So we can have a chat next time whenever you can spare time for us. For
Hopefully,
now,
hopefully.
I am closing this conversation and I am again thanking you. So
Thank you so
आप
much.
सब आप लोग सभी लोगों को जो हमारे साथ बने हुए हैं उनका धन्यवाद। मुझे उम्मीद है कि जना की बातचीत से आपको काफ़ी जानकारी मिली होगी और वहाँ की चीज़ों को समझने में मदद भी मिली होगी। तो आज बस इतना ही। नमस्कार।